£25 million property portfolio. The thing that I love about this story as well is because it's self-made, and that's what I really respect. 7-figure rental income, brought life back to 2 major high streets, which we'll go into, and recently featured on Homes Under the Hammer. Matt was also in that episode as well. So, thank you for being here, and wanted to welcome Mark Smith.
Thank you.
Everyone give a hand.
Yeah, just go there.
Perfect. All right. Todd, how are we looking?
Testing.
You all good?
I know quite a few people. Hiya. I need to apologise because I might offend people. If I swear, I apologise. We don't know each other. Don't take it personally. But I will WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. Cobby has said the run through approx what he's going to talk about. So just bear with me if I get a bit emotional. He wants warts and all, so he'll get warts and all.
So, Portsmouth, born and bred. To my understanding, grew up in a council estate in the 70s.
Yep.
Which council estates were they?
So Buckland. So I was born in Mallins Road. That picture is, I think it's 93 Mallins Road we were brought up in. It's demolished now because it had an outside toilet, didn't have a bath. It was a 2 up, 2 down. And you had to get a metal bath and put in your lounge. So the 2 rooms downstairs was a lounge and the back room was a kitchen and an outside toilet. And that's my dad's motorbike and that's me messing about with a bit of string or something. Yeah, probably age 4 or 5. I'm going off at a tangent. I will do this. Oh, you two can't see.
I can see.
We can't.
No, we can't see.
I saw Malk's. Okay.
Are you guys about to? Yeah.
Many years later, when I started doing buy-to-lets, when a house came up in Mallins Road, I thought, I'm buying that because that's where I was born and brought up.
From my perspective, there must be something special about you to grow up and escape the mindset that exists in these environments and live an honest life as well. So we kind of want to start off for the purpose of understanding the boy that preceded the man. Can you identify a few aspects of your upbringing that has shaped you?
Okay. Good one. So they say when you're growing up, by the time you're 7 or 8, you're actually formed as what you're going to be growing up later on as a person, as an adult. And by the way, I'm not an adult yet. Yeah, I've got a pen with a light on. I mean, that shows what I'm like. So, 3 or 4 things of growing up. We were very poor. I had friends laugh at me on a bus once as we got on. I just about borrowed money from my parents to get a bus down Southsea. We were probably 10 or 11, and even my friends laughed that I had no money for when we got down there. So growing up poor, but my parents were very much workaholics. No, they worked hard. So my dad worked in the dockyard for many years. My mum had 3 jobs, cleaning, 2 cleaning jobs, domestic cleaning, commercial cleaning, and also looking after children. But family, I had 2 older brothers, 1 younger sister. My mum had 4 children under 4 years old, and none of us were twins. So before my brother's 4th birthday, my mum was having my sister. I mean, they didn't have Sky TV then, so that's the go on. Rishi. So yeah, we were poorer than Rishi growing up. How about that? Family though is everything. Growing up in a reasonably stable family life is the big thing growing up.
So how have these sort of moments impacted you in the way you operate day to day in business?
Okay, that's not me in the skirt, by the way. You're gonna hate me by the end of this. So my own business, my first buy to let all those years ago was for my children. My children were 6 and 7 at the time, and so they're bloody hell, they're that old now, 30 plus 35 now. And this sounds really bad, I wanted to help them on the property ladder. So my first property in 13 New Road, my brother owns it now, Rob owns it now. It's a real state, it is. But it would cost us 40 grand. And we raised money on our own property and we rented out rooms. There was no issue on HMOs, was there, Malk? HMO licensing and all that dodge. So the first property was for my children, 2 kids, and I thought, well, I can kick them out when they're 18. I don't want to live at home when they're 18, so we kicked, So, but after a year, I thought, you know what, I've got 2 kids. If I raise money on that first property, I can buy another property, and then I've got 2 kids, boy and a girl, Chris and Nick, and they can move there. And I was working full-time social services, adults with disability, eventually a senior officer when I did leave, and it took another year. So the third year, so I bought my third one, which was for me, which was going to be my pension.
Yeah.
So we talk about values and then how we take them further into life, really. So family, you'll hear me talk family, and actually my business is really moulded around my family.
Okay. So considering the circumstances that you grew up in,
Yeah.
did you ever feel that there was something greater to aspire to when you were growing up?
It's like mastermind, isn't it? I had some friends that owned property, as in their families owned the property. We were in a council estate, and I would go round to them, and they would have cakes on the table, or even fruit in a fruit bowl. Weird, isn't it? That is like that is a symbol of wealth if you're growing up poor. So you can aspire to being in a nice house and being successful at business. I think my main one from growing up was work ethic. My parents would always work and earn. They may have menial jobs but there was always reasonable food on the table.
Moving on a little bit further in your life.
That's my Jimmy Savile picture there, by the way. Send that to him.
Going past school, what was your first job?
Okay, so I left school at 15 in, bear with me, March 1980 at 15 years old.
Why 15?
Because I had no qualification, I wasn't sitting in exams, and the teachers basically said, what are you coming to school for? You're not sitting in exams, just about go. I went, piss off then, I'll go, no problem, I don't need to be here. So no qualifications at 15. Careers advisors, wankers, they basically said, you're not going to get anywhere, Mark, you might get a job in Woolworths. Is there anyone really young here? You all know Woolworths there? So I'm looking at youngsters go, what's Woolworths? What's Blockbuster? So they said you'll probably get a shop in a store stacking shelves, basically. So yeah, school, I messed around at school. Surprise.
Have fun.
But I didn't really learn much, and I wanted to leave to get to work, basically. So I left school March 1980, went to the first interview, March 1980. Love it. They said, yep, come and we'll take you on. Filled out the form, and basically said, you're not 16 yet, we can't legally employ you till you're 16. I'd done probably 4 or 5 interviews for jobs. People loved me, would have taken me on, but I wasn't 16 until August. 6 weeks tomorrow, I'm 60. Just in case I forget. So left school, and then my first job was selling furniture, North End on Stubbington Avenue, corner street there. Used to be White's Removals, and then it was called Queen Street, so I started there selling furniture. Chatting old ladies up, lay on the bed, that sort of stuff. True story. No drugs allowed, apparently. Yeah. But yeah.
So how did you go from your first job to your career in social services?
So my first job was selling furniture as a youngster, Second job was selling furniture after a year. That shop was closing down when I started. And then I moved into removals. I got sort of headhunted from selling furniture, and a friend had started working for a big removal company in Portsmouth, White's Removals, and they came and saw me. As soon as I was 18, they said, Mark, we want you to come and work for us. I thought, that's easy. So I started there. Part of my work history on whatever job I've done, I've always proven myself, or wanted to prove myself, as actually I can do this. Give me something to do, let me show you I can do it. So at White's Removals for 6 or 7 years, I was the youngest. First of all, you get promoted to a foreman, then a senior foreman, and all the old senior foremen and senior foremen that are 50 or 60. Here's me as a 20-year-old lad becoming a foreman, then a senior foreman. They hated it. But I would have the gift of the gab with the customer, gift of the gab with the other lads working with us, and we'd done the job. So I'd always try and excel myself at whatever job I was in. So growing up, school, didn't excel at all. As soon as I started getting money for a job or proving myself, I wanted to prove myself to show those careers advisors they were not very well. They were very well educated.
Was money part of that then? Did money form?
So having no money to then being able to afford a pair of jeans, it's quite a shock to the system, because we had sew-ups and, patches on our clothes. So it's a bit of a shock to the system, but then you did work all the hours and you worked the overtime. So my work ethic was right. Okay. And then during the removal business, I had a bad motorbike accident. The longest bone in your body is the femur. Broke my femur, smashed up my knee. That's why I'm doing some health stuff at the moment at the gym. Smashed up my ankle. In hospital for 3.5 months in traction. Then physio. and then getting back to fitness. I couldn't go back to removals and stuff, so I had to start looking elsewhere. Okay. And that's when I approached social service at Cosham. We had a big unit up there, adults with disabilities, and they took me on as a store person. Okay. And then within a year, they put me as a salesperson. Then within a year, they put me in charge of another one production department, as well as doing sales. Then they put me in charge of 2 production areas, and I just kept excelling. They kept sending me on courses, and I'm not looking education. We all must go get the right education to what suits us.
Yeah.
So that's where my social services comes in, and I was there for about 15, 16 years.
Okay. Even just as you're saying that, it sounds like you were juggling a lot from very early.
Yeah. So, and I know you might be asking me a question about one of my hardest business ones. I've been married 37 years, and that is fucking hard. You might cut that swear. Again, if my wife sees this, and I'm still with my lovely wife, and she's really good. I don't know how she puts up with me. That's how I cope with the marriage, actually, because I couldn't cope with me. Where were we? I've gone off a tangent.
All right, so we've
dug yourself a big hole.
big hole. So you've already explained how you got your first 2 properties and then your third. So the first 2 were for the kids.
Yeah, well done. So I was social services working. So we bought one. We bought 13 New Road for 40 grand.
Yeah.
We raised that money on our is that 97. We raised this on our first on our house in Cosham where we lived. So we could raise the equity on that and buy that cash. There was no buy-to-lets then. You couldn't go to. We went to the bank and said, "We need this money." They went, "It's about your income. Your income covers your current mortgage. We're not going to lend you money to buy a house." So we took a second charge, paying 10% a year on a repayment. Borrowed 40 grand, bought 30 New Road, and then we refinanced that one later, and a year later, to buy 117 Newcombe Road in Fratton, and then got that one, and then we mortgaged that one to buy our third one, which is probably 40 Byron that we still own. And then that's how we started. So we had 3 then in 97, 98, 99.
Okay, so that being the case, you had this full-time job.
Yeah.
You've got these 3 properties you're managing.
Yeah.
You've got a young family.
Yeah.
How did you manage all of this?
I think, looking back at parents, I probably worked too hard. And then after 3 though, I then borrowed more. We refinanced and we bought 6. So then they were all so one was always unencumbered, and then we raised the finance on the last one, and then remortgaged them all to buy 6. And then we've done some flips as well in the meantime. So we had 6. So I was probably, and I know we've mentioned this, Cobby. I have a bit of regret looking back, but I have a coping mechanism for it. I wasn't there for my children growing up. But my coping mechanism is that it was the right thing to do at the time. So although and don't get me wrong, they love me for it now, 500 grand homes on the Hammer property. But at the time, I don't think I spent enough time with my children. So I do have a regret, but at the time, my coping mechanism, it was right at the time.
What was your why during this time?
Family, always family. And I did enjoy the challenge of getting tenants in and chucking when they misbehave, chucking them out on the road. There's a true story there before, non-PC. So yeah, my why was always my family and grafting. And then when we had 6 or 8, probably, late 1999, I was overworked.
I was going to ask, so did you have any time for yourself?
I had no real hobbies. So, it was work, social services, full-time, at home, doing some DIY. We had a nice house in Burrell Avenue, and growing the portfolio and managing that. Monday nights, every fortnight, collecting weekly rent in the rent books, cash in pocket, getting home and just chucking it over the bed. No, that didn't happen. So collecting cash on a Monday every fortnight, but then you go out on a Wednesday and collect it. Someone didn't pay you a tenner. They go the weekend, collect it, do repairs at weekends. So it was. I'm going to say hard graft.
Yeah.
If someone thinks, and I'm going off a tangent. Few years ago, lovely lady called Sarah Smith, ex-solicitor, said to me, when I gave a similar talk, but it wasn't as in depth as this, she said, "Mark, I thought you had rich parents that helped you set it up." I thought, fucking, ugh. So no, and I don't mind talking about myself, because as long as I'm honest and I tell you how it is. So I definitely didn't have rich parents. I grafted, and I probably over grafted, but I'm in a good place now.
Can you give us two of your biggest personal challenges that you had to face? One physical and one mental, if possible.
Thanks. I'm going to give you one, and it's physical and mental, and I apologise for not thinking through perhaps, and I knew this type of question was coming. In 1999, I got rather ill with ulcerative colitis, and we haven't had a dessert yet, and I apologise if anyone's going to have a chocolate dessert. So, ulcerative colitis, your colon doesn't play right, gets infected, blah blah blah, blood cells, blah blah blah. I would walk to work 5 minutes, my social services, but I could sit on a loo and fill it totally red, no white on the bowl. And I didn't tell anyone. I bottled it up and I manned up, which is bollocks these days, excuse me. And I thought, if I work hard, my body will realise that I have to work through it. And come late 1999, really poorly with colitis, losing some weight, which I didn't mind losing weight. But yeah, really poorly, blood left, right and centre, change of trousers everywhere, change of anything. And told my wife, but yeah, so physical, you said physical and mental. Late 1999, physical breakdown, mental breakdown, and what's the other one? So basically physical, mental breakdown. Body broke down, basically he said, stop it, you're working too much. And I don't know how much you want to go on here. I went to see a specialist, Dr. Goggins, up QA, specialist, top in Hampshire. They said, Mark, you've got to go and see him. I saw him, and this is a bit of choke here, and he examined me. You know, we all have the old, as we get a certain age, we all have our tests, don't we? Examine me, go back to the office, go back to his office, and he says, Mark, it's the worst case I've seen of colitis. He said, you've got to come in hospital. And I went, I'm not coming in hospital. Fuck that, I've got stuff to do, you know. So I didn't go in hospital. But he said, right, you're going to have to do this, this and this, lots of medication. And I was really low, really, really low. And he said, lots of prescriptions, loads of enemas in the morning, at night. We haven't eaten our dessert yet. And lots of, what are the tablets? Not statins. Anyway, tablets that drop your body, shock your body into reforming. And I went to QA chemist where you get your prescriptions, gave my prescriptions in, get your medication, and they gave me two big carrier bags, green hospital carrier bags full of medication. I was on my own, and it was a bit of a shock getting these and saying, right, you know what you got to do with them. I thought, oh God. So that was 99, and I had to then listen to my body, and that's when I realised I was overworking, still working social services, and year 2000, millennium year, I said to the social service, I'm cutting down my hours. I don't want to work. I want to work 4 days a week, 3 days a week. And they were good with me. So I cut down then. I am responsible for my own health with experts' opinion. At the time when Dr. Goggins said, what are we going to do about this? I thought, you bastard, what you're meant to be telling me what you're meant to be doing. But he was so right by saying, what are we meant to be doing? But it's not, it's never, you know, it's down to me, what I eat, what I exercise I do, how much stress I take. It really taught me a lesson in 1999. So I'm going on a bit now.
The way it sounds,
yeah.
Would you say that was the worst time of your life?
It was the worst time of my life. I'm not saying I regret it, because it does make you, my parents think I'm a bit uncaring now because I don't take on shit, and my wife thinks I don't, you know, I look after myself without looking after myself. So it was one of the worst cases. I was really depressed. I was, you know, say physically, emotionally, and mentally drained, and I was the lowest of low. I'm not doing this again, by the way.
How do you view that time now?
I view it with not regret, funny enough, and I learned so much. And I learned if I'm not healthy or look, if I don't look after myself, I can't look after anyone else. And I was probably stupid, naive, inexperienced with illness, with a chronic illness. So I don't regret it. I've learned immensely from it, and it does. And I know your conversation started. Does the boy shape the man? There are probably incidents through life that shape you as well, and they can be relationships, they can be work issues. So I do look at it as if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be sitting here now. No, sorry. But yeah, so I don't know. It has you can take positive out of your downfall really. Unless you learn from when you make a mistake, you're not gonna, you won't get anywhere. So if you're not willing to look at it, look at something, review it, and go, actually. So although I've had some flare-ups, 3 or 4. The words were the precedent was steroids. Sorry, if you take steroids and it closes your body down so it can rebuild. So they put me on lots of steroids. They give me the shakes a bit sometimes. I'm going off at a tangent, can I? When I was in recovery mode, my wife and I went to the Isle of Wight, Ride, to a little hotel for a couple of nights. And this table, I know we've not planned this chat, sorry mate. Lots of steroids in me, real bad shakes, and we were at a nice small little hotel. They gave me soup. And to eat soup like that, you feel like a junkie and you spill it. And I will say, that is almost a breakdown. You go, fucking hell. You can't do your buttons up on your shirt because your hands won't work. So you look back at that and go, that's never happened to me again. And it's never been as bad as that. I occasionally get a flare. I haven't had a flare for 7-8 years now. I have regular checkups. I have biopsies every 5 years. The last biopsy was a couple of years ago where they took 24 biopsies where it feels like your stomach's been punched. But that's life, isn't it? I'd rather be under their support and listen to what I've got to do. Sorry, we're going off on a tangent again.
No, it's fine. It's fine. And thank you for keeping it real and honest.
Right.
To be honest, I think this is something that I know since coming to the city, there's a lot of people who look up to you. And the fact that they're going to hear you speak about these sort of things, you don't know what anybody's going through,
No.
To hear your experience and the way you're even telling it, the fact that you're getting emotional about it, I think it can do a lot of people favours. You never know who it might be doing favours for in the room.
Man up, what a load of bollocks, basically. If you don't seek help and talk to people, you're on a downer.
Yeah.
And we've all probably faced struggles, and if we don't share them, it's no good. And that's why I said I'd come and chat to you, mate. As long as there's no one in the room, I said, didn't I?
Yeah. I really appreciate that.
Go on.
Thank you for sharing that. All right, let's move on from that.
Yeah.
So you went from 3 properties to 6,
Yeah.
and then from 6 to 12.
Roughly that, yeah. In the middle of that, I've done a couple of flips.
Yeah.
So you buy a property, and if you can make at the time 10 or 15 grand, you would flip a property. So I didn't mind doing a few flips through getting up to 12.
Okay, so when did you realise that you were onto something here that could potentially change your family's legacy?
So believe it or not, on the first 2 or 3, and I was telling family and relatives, this is working. I've raised the money. We've got it on a repayment mortgage. In the old days, we didn't just have interest only. It was going down. The property was going up, and I was taking more money than the mortgage. So I was actually making a profit, cash flow.
Yeah.
The debt was going down, and the property was going up in value. And I was telling people, you got to do this. None of them listened to me. Family. Two have got property now. I've helped them on their journey. So cookie cut. If it's working with 1 or working with 2, that's why we went to 12. So when we went to 12, although probably 6 or 8, illness kicked me, bad time, I realised that is the way to grow the business, really. And that's when I went to social services. And again, tangent. When I left social services in 2002, I was part-time doing 3 days a week. I was SO grade, so senior officer, principal officer, next grade up. So I'd worked my way up, 15 years input. Get my pension, did I say 6 weeks, 1 day time, 60? I was on about 22, 23 grand, which wasn't a bad wage then, in whatever year, 2002. It was okay. I said, I'm leaving. They went, you can't leave. We love you. We want you to do this. We've got big aspirations for you to run the whole lots of departments. I was probably running 6 or 7 departments at the time. And they said, Mark, please stay. We'll pay you an extra 10 grand. We'll pay you 33 grand a year. I went, it's not the money. You don't grasp it. I nearly killed myself for that place. So I went, no, I'm going to work on my own. I knew I could then grow the business.
Okay. When I arrived in Portsmouth, back in Portsmouth in 2022, the most popular renovation type strategy being used at the time was, or being spoken about, was going from commercial to residential conversions, due to the PD rights. As I started looking at this strategy myself, specifically in Gosport, your name seemed to come up to anyone I spoke to about the idea that I had at the time. Definitely one of the guys in the room. Then I was schooled by how much work you had actually done.
Yeah.
So we've got this here. Can you speak to us a little bit more about why you sort of put your attention on high streets?
Yeah, and I don't know if we got another photo, but
Yeah.
I don't know if we have because Okay, that's a good one. Stay on that one.
Yep.
And I can't see the year, so if that was 2004 or 2003, the one before, no, sorry, 2012.
That was 2012.
That's 2012.
Yeah.
So 2011, on that Sun, and we're on the Telegraph at the same time, Lee Park was voted the worst performing high street, and the figure here is 36.4%. We actually beat Margate. Lee Park's better than Margate, everyone, for vacant shops. So I was invited over there. They knew I was doing residentials, and they invited me over to get involved in commercial premises. I didn't know anything about commercial premises. I was a bit bored with the free up, free down resi buy-to-lets. And we started buying at auction, and the first two per auction, bear with me, Pollyanna and Claire's. That actually says Claire's there. So that's we still own these now. That's now a photography shop, and we own the flats above. So we were buying primarily for residential above that had been empty for 20 or 30 years.
Wow.
So we bought them two, and those first two purchases were about 80 grand for the lump, so 40 grand, 40 grand, 40 grand, 40 grand. So we bought them. And then the next two came up, these two came up, and this was although it's got the ASBA there as a charity shop, but it was run as a dentist. Actually, no, it's this one as dentist. There's a side door here. Yeah. So that was a whole dentist, so that wasn't residential above. So we split that, turned that into resi. We were paying about between 60 and 80 for a shop and a flat, little story on this cafe that we own. That was number 36 Park Parade. When we were buying these two, this came up as well, but we only had 160 grand to buy them two. So we didn't buy that, and that sold for 80 grand. 6 months later, I hunted the owner down, and I said, I don't care if you don't get me in the photo, do you, if I'm standing up? And we said, we want to buy your cafe. He was receiving 11 grand rent for the whole lot, and we paid 120 grand for it. We gave him 50% more than he'd paid for it 6 months prior. Because we knew when the tenant moved out, and we had some issues with the tenant there, we could deal with. We've learned lots about forfeiture. There's a slide I didn't send you. And we created 2 flats above, actually 3 flats above, 2 flats there on the front, 1 behind, and we carved the shop up into 2. We were talking about values the other day, actually. So yeah, for 120 grand, we got 3 flats and 2 shops. And we might have spent 70, 80 grand on it, but we've done well on that. Yeah. And we just carried on buying, basically. Another one there, I'm going to go off on one. The auctioneer knew I was actively buying there, and there was 5 lots coming up, a row of 4 shops, all individual, guide between 30 and 50, 1 flat above them, 30 to 50, 30 to 50. So we registered a bid, we didn't want to buy them all money. The auctioneer, the night before the auction, phoned me up. He said, Mark, we've noticed you're registered. Because they're in receivership, and Virgin Islands, the company had gone bankrupt, they need to sell them all. Would you like to buy them all? We'll offer it as a new lot, as a one-off before, and people were interested in buying 1 shop, 1 flat, 1 shop. So the night before he phones me out, I said, yeah, we'll bid for the lot. I was the only one that knew this lot was being offered before that. And so at the auction, they went, before we go on to those 5 lots at 30 to 50 grand each, we want to offer it as 1 lump sum. Who wants to bid 150? So I bid 150, paid 30 grand in theory. So I got 5 lots for under 50 grand. Within 2 months, we were moving tenants into the shops at 6 to 7 grand each. So getting a 20, 25% return. We generally get 9 to 10 grand on those shops now. We still own them. The flats are valued at about 125, 145, but that was 10 years ago. But we could have almost doubled our money straight away on those. Yeah. Sorry, going off on one again.
No, that's
That's
fine.
Lee Park, worst performing. And yeah, we have about 25 shops over there and about 30 flats over there.
So that's a little bit about the journey between going from your traditional vanilla lets up to commercial.
Yeah.
Within that, were you doing commercial to residential developments then?
I mentioned about the dentist, so we had to apply for planning then because it was next to 2 residential. We were doing some commercial there, and there was 3 shops we bought around the corner, 4, 6 and 8 Greywell. They had just empty storerooms above, so we turned them into 1-bed flats.
Okay.
So we were converting storage areas above some of these that weren't even residential.
So the most significant project that I heard at the time, when I was first hearing your name, was the McDonald's conversion in Gosport, which is now Bluebird Court.
Yeah.
So I understand you secured this deal in 2019.
Yeah, pre-COVID, yeah. Brain dead, yeah. Go
Yeah.
on.
Completed last year.
Completed the build September last year, yeah.
And your company currently still manages the building, right?
Oh, sorry, you got a picture right there, have you? Am I meant to look at that?
We got
Okay.
Yeah.
So we purchased the uppers in 2019. Somebody in London had purchased the whole lot, then they split it and sold the shops off to a company in Southampton, and they wanted to sell the uppers. So we purchased the uppers for 370 odd grand. It's about, you've got someone coming in. Hello. Everyone, this is Sophie. She's now being late. Are you hungry, Sophie?
I'm all right at the moment, actually.
Phoebe.
So I show Mark's
Yeah,
in
you can
the
sit here.
morning.
You can sit here.
I think she's next to Todd, really.
Alright.
Otherwise,
That's your dinner. Yeah.
I'm going to write down Phoebe because she ain't got a name badge on. So we purchased about 370 grand of the top floor. It was, bear with me, 600. It was 1,200 square meters, so 600 meters per square floor. In 2019, pre that C word, COVID, not cancer or Christmas or something else. Before that C word affected, I'd actually done a development in Lee Park where we bought an old NatWest bank for similar money, 350 grand at auction. And we built 10 flats there and 2 shops, put Papa John's in one of the shops. And our expenditure was 500 grand. Our total expenditure on that was 850 grand. And then we sold it for 1.6 mil. We didn't pay much tax on the 800 grand we made because we moved in a company at 1.5 in between. So we only paid tax, 20% tax on the 100 grand. But some of that money went to there. So I had the experience of building 10 flats, 12 flats. And that's why on the back of a fag packet, I don't smoke, we can work out the basics of that. So my initial figures on that were buying at 370 odd, spending 600-ish on it, 500 on the build, 100 grand contingency, and it'll be valued at 1.5 mil. So spend a mil, make half a mil. Sounds easy, doesn't it? Fucking hell. Planning, COVID, all the other contractors. You know what it's like, don't you?
That C word.
That C word.
How?
Yeah, Christmas.
What effect did COVID have on the development? Because you're doing this right the way through it.
So if we look at that, and if we finished the build or signed off from building control last year, a big impact. Planners, most planning departments are rubbish. Gosport just sent everyone home and then didn't give them a phone. So planning took us a good 2.5 years to get what we wanted. Gosport area was not a historic site, but they upgraded it from an area of with interesting buildings, should we say, to they up leveled during COVID and just basically said everything, you can't do anything on it. This code, see this brickwork? They said you've got to keep that. It's 1960s. I said it's a lot of shit. Let me K-rend it. I mean, look at it. And they went, yeah, but we've listed the whole high street now. That's like, I said, it's falling a bit. It's all them bricks there are blown, them lower bricks, that first build there. So yeah, it was a bit of a challenge getting through planning. In the end, we got 12 flats up there, planning for 12 flats. If you look at my original budget of and a year's build, COVID, we were planning on spending about 600 grand on it to end up with a GDV of 1.5 and keep it in a portfolio. It was purchased under its own limited company, Bluebird Court Limited. There's a bird theme around, by the way. And that allows us to sell it as a company if we want to, manage a company, draw out the various tax efficiencies as a company if we want to.
Okay.
We have a few companies with birds on.
So the last 18 months has been very tricky for everybody in property.
Yeah.
14 consecutive bank rate increases, Russia-Ukraine war, energy prices spiking, inflation reaching 11.4% last year.
Yeah.
Did any of these things any of these factors have an effect on this development?
Majorly, so our budget was £500,000. Our end value. So what did we spend on it? We spent 1.6 on it with an end value predicted at 1.5. I'm a bit thick, and already. So luckily, the grafting and the input and in the end, we had it valued a year and a bit ago for 2.2 mil after spending just under 1.6. We come out okay, but COVID wasn't kind to us. material costs, contractors almost threaten to walk off because the price we quoted and tendered for, we can't meet it because our material costs. I don't care. That's the price, so almost fisticuffs on a few contractors. We were lucky because prices went up, but we struggled to get our original build cost. Our build cost of 600 was based on a year before pricing, not during COVID
that.
prices.
Yeah.
And so we had a few challenges on the build. We've done okay. We've raised factors wise. Lloyds Bank, we tried to raise with Hams Trust Bank. They were letting us 1.3 at 7%. We didn't really want that. We borrowed with Lloyds. We borrowed just over 1.2 mil. Our expenditure is just under 1.6, so we've left 400 grand in there. The rental income of that, which we still own, obviously, we managed, is 156 grand on 12 flats. They're nice big flats in there. So bear with me. I left school thicker, all right, so math. So on our 1.2, it's just under 6%. We pay 72 grand a year, mostly interest only. So therefore we make 80 grand on our 400 grand in there, 20% return. We're okay today, leaving 400 grand in there, knowing we've got a fixed rate with Lloyds, just under 6% for 5 years. We'll review it in 5 years. So I don't mind because of the scheme. Now we could look at it, I'm going on a bit, if we've got 400 grand in there. We haven't, we have got 400 grand of our own money, but the asset's worth 2.1, 2.2. We're expecting a little bit of capital growth over the next 5 years, just a little bit. So we don't care too much. It's okay. It worked out okay, luckily, with a bit of skill, bit of knowledge. Sorry, mate.
No, I want to open it up. Has anyone got any questions? Malcolm and Go for it.
I think I'll speak for everybody in the room that you're an inspiration, Mark.
Thanks, Matt, from you, who's been around the block, eh?
Around a similar block. We really appreciate your honesty.
Yeah.
Fantastic. The boy done good.
Yeah, exactly. Well said, yeah.
And have you got a bit of advice for someone who wants to get started, someone who's maybe already got their foot on the ladder, but wants to put their foot on the ladder?
Most businesses are about numbers and people. Getting numbers right, and if you can't talk to people, you need good. Like even you know this, Mal. You know this. You're a people person, Mal, aren't you? People like Mal, and people talk about people. No, but you know what I mean. So most businesses, including property, are about people. Contractors, mortgage people. Sorry, Matt. So get the people right. If you've got some reasonable people skills, communication skills with people, get your numbers right, you shouldn't fail. But the biggest thing is taking the action, and don't be afraid to fail. If you fail, I've got to be careful what I say here, then you'll learn. We've heard a couple of my... Yeah. Muhammad Ali, it's not who fell down the most, who got up the most, really, yeah. So basically taking action, people and numbers.
Perfect. Thank you, Mark.
Hello.
Can I just go to Stephen, because there's one here,
I was just going to say, are most of your just self-funded, or do you use private investors?
Bit of both. I've got some friends I can just phone up and go, stick 100 grand in my bank, which is always nice. But then they phone me back and say, can you stick 100 grand in my bank? Because of the build-up over the years, we funded all that ourselves. Don't forget, we sold Kingfisher Court that we sold in Lee Park for 1.6. We had a debt on there of 800 grand because that's what it cost to build us with Lloyds. They took that, so we put 800 odd grand. And we had other, so on our rental income, we take just under 100 grand a month in, 50 grand ish going out. We make 50 grand a month on our profit of our general day-to-day business. So it helps me. It doesn't help the accountant where I'll just borrow it from left and right company and go, I'm going in there. But we're balancing the books at the moment. So mostly self-funded, which is good,
Very recently, you were hit with a legal dispute indirectly involving tax.
Okay.
All right.
Have I said you can discuss this?
That's what I'm about to ask. Can you explain? Are you all right to explain the situation?
Yes, definitely. Going back many years ago, before Section 24 tax, where you can't offset all your interest tax on mortgages. Current debt, by the way, it's relevant. Our current debt on the portfolio valued up about 25 mil. Our current debt's about 8 mil, might be 8.1, might be 8.2, give or take, depends on what we're selling, what's going out at the time. We have some properties up for sale. The school will go up for sale later on, and so the portfolio is never at a level. It's always variance on. I must mention Palmerston Road. Does anyone know Palmerston Road is up for sale? You do, yeah? Okay, I feel you do. Okay.
What, the whole road? Or?
Just the right-hand side from numbers 2 up to number about 38 before Debenhams. Go off a tangent. Shut up. Short thought. What was the question? A tax inquiry.
Yeah, that's it.
So, over 1,000 landlords incorporated with a company called Property 118, Mark Alexander, and I didn't mind doing it because I believe we're run as a partnership. Me and my wife own the properties. Got no qualms with that. We also, and we've been running it for many years, so we incorporated with Property 118, and they presented it PDPLA, not the guy who also recently, over 4 years ago that is now, so we didn't reach the 6-year mark. They're under investigation. The scheme is under investigation. I'm not going to call it a scheme. The process of what they've done. We think our penalty were not under investigation. We're on notice that we could be investigated. So on all our tax return, we have to put our special. There's a word for it, DOTUS notice or something. DATUS. There you go. So which is fine. So, but the worst case scenario for me is that I'm going to owe HMRC 2.1 mil. Am I bothered? I don't give a shit. The plan is we're actually not. I'm not going to use the word war chest. We're building a Palmerston Road chest of 2.1 mil, and we're doing that. We're selling off a few bits, school, blah blah blah, a few other bits, and we're going to have the money in a war chest contingency fund if it comes back to hit us. But yep.
I thought they had PI cover.
I believe Mark Smith, not me, barrister, Coxwell, has it for himself, not for his clients.
Can I comment?
Of course you can, yeah. Off the record, obviously.
Their PI cover is absolutely worthless for what they've got.
I believe.
And you have, it's our belief that you have an absolute justifiable right to sue Cotswold barristers.
Yeah.
Because it's Cotswold barristers who came up with this and
Scheme,
got 118 Bailey Group, left tax for landlords, all involved.
Yeah.
We, I hasten to say, didn't. We do it totally different.
Yeah.
They knew it was a scheme. And they didn't, they weren't detastable.
No.
That's what the revenue are doing them on first. But you guys have an absolute justifiable right to sue them. And
but if
I don't think they've got a leg to stand.
No, there's over 1,000 landlords, and if we all owe 2 or 3 million quid, they're not going to. They'll go bust. They'll go bankrupt. So we're not looking at that. Worst case, we need to look at how they rewind our incorporation and what the penalties are for us. And I'm happy to pay it because our rolled up shares of capital gains tax or mitigation of stamp duty will have it prepared. So I don't mind paying a penalty and just moving on. I have a coping mechanism, and although we're planning for it, we're planning for worst case. The business is okay, Krista, honestly.
No, I don't think. I think the revenue will come back on the stamp duty.
Yeah, and so you've got to pay it.
I think you have to pay it.
Yeah. What about capital gains tax rolled up in shares?
That's a separate issue.
So yeah.
The stamp duty, I think they'll come back and say they'll have every right to.
I don't mind. Our stamp duty liability is 2.1 mil. It'll be in the bank. They can have it, and it'll just don't forget that shares rolled up as debt shares anyway. So in theory, am I just wiping some debt shares from the company? We're not getting too technical here, are we? For those people that aren't dealing with it. But also, allegedly, they did put 10 cases through to be approved. That's questionable, isn't it? But over 1,000 landlords have done the same scheme. Some in Portsmouth, some I know. But I would just, for my business involvement, someone said, well, just close your business down. Sell it, Mark. Close it down. Piss off. Be prepared for it. The way you act, really, and you go, actually, I'll hold my hands up. I followed 1,000 other landlords, so I will act accordingly. But I will prepare for it, and I won't be bothered with it. Sorry, mate.
We'll progress on. All right. So we'll get onto this in a second.
What's Martin's surname? Roberts. He was a real prat in real life. He was an arsehole, honestly.
He was waiting for that. All right, so we spoke earlier on your struggles and especially managing time and trying to do everything within your business. Could you help us understand the difference between how you manage your workload and your life back then compared to like the most recent years, 2019, 2000 to 2023?
Leverage awareness. I lever my time. It's not about time though. Money, workload. I've got some very good staff at the moment. 3 or 4 people in the office, 2 maintenance guys. Without them, the business wouldn't be anything really. I wouldn't do it on my own. Going off a tangent slightly. When I did have my illness and breakdown, I realised, and soon after, even then, when I got better and I carried on building the business, I built the monster, and I was either going to cut back. I didn't want to run it or get staff in to manage it and grow it. So staff awareness, even 20 years ago, was critical, and it is today. I'm aware none of us have been this old as we are today. We're all getting a day older each day, so my time is valuable. I do know how to allocate it to gym sessions a week.
So can you give us an idea of how forming and leading a team helped you take your business to that next level?
I probably almost just said that. Okay, so the right delegation, the right trusting of people. I had someone do a 6-month secondment about 5 or 6 years ago in office, and as he left, I said, can you give me feedback? I can't remember his name now, Adrian. Can you give me feedback? He went, you're a bit of a control freak, Mark. Fuck, don't say that. I knew he was going to say that. So I said, give me your opinion of why you think that. He said, because you know about everything. I said, I need to know everything, but I don't have to get involved in it. I can close my door. And he said, I knew what was going on around the business. And my brother, Rob, phoned me up there. He said, you having a new roof put on in Cardiff Road? And I said, don't know, Rob, I don't deal with it. Someone else is dealing with it. Who's doing it? I don't know. So the art of delegation and the art of the right team around you. Richard Branson doesn't sail cruise ship. He's going on a cruise ship out of Portsmouth on the 3rd of September. I am on it, me and Richard together. But he doesn't he doesn't fly aeroplanes, you know. So you do need to know about the art of delegation and trusting your team to do the right decision. Going back, if we say, and we talked about this earlier, Jamie, about if the decision was right at the time, it turned out to be wrong later on. It was right at the time. You can't go back and change it. So I do instill in the office, just get on with it and make the right decisions. They're really good, the office team, currently.
Let's talk about Homes Under the Hammer then. You and Matt made your appearance on there.
Yeah.
Had you done television before this?
Crime Watch. No. Obviously, when we started in Lee Park, we were getting phone calls from BBC Main News, ITV Main News, can we come and film you in Lee Park, which was always interesting. So not really. So that was the first, as in TV, property programme.
Okay. How did this opportunity come about?
They phone up after auction and say, do you want to appear on the TV on Homes and Hammer? And initially you go, oh, why would you bother with that? Because there are some constrictions with it, and they do tie you in not to do any work before they come and film soon after, and then they want to film without it being furnished or aggro. My challenge on that one, going back to why we started, all them years ago, was family. My daughter, Nikki here, was pregnant with my first grandchild. There's a little story there, with her wife. And so I thought it'd be nice to get her on there as we buy it, expecting baby. And when they come and refilm it, we have baby in arms. So that was the only, because I think if I'm dead in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, at least it's still on TV. That's why. Family.
You already sort of touched on it. What was the experience like?
So what's your name again? That bloke? Well, Martin Roberts. He was there when I got there. He was on his phone, didn't want to talk at all, head down. The main director of the film, and there was 2 camera crews there because they filmed from different angles. You couldn't talk to him. You weren't allowed to talk to him, say hello to him or anything, you know. And he'd come in really abrupt. Right, so you're him. Just answer this question. And then when the camera went down, it's just different persona, totally different. Now, probably because he's been doing it so long, like being interviewed, he just probably got bored of it. So, you know, but yeah, as soon as the camera went down, he's I'll go now, see you later, bye. And so before that, he was up the stairs on his phone. You couldn't go and disrupt him to chat to him. So very abrupt, really. So, but again, I understand it. Always put yourself in their shoes and go, actually, what was that like, you know? So he's going there to do a job, isn't he? He's not going to make friends with me or Nikki or anyone else there. Yeah. He wins the camera roll. And say, as soon as the camera, hi, everybody, we're Waterlooville. that's not a bloke I was just seeing. Head in the front. But yeah, so it was okay.
Do you see yourself doing? Because I take you to be quite charismatic. So
Well,
do you
piss
see?
off. I'm non-PC. That's the problem.
Do you see yourself doing more television?
Not really.
No.
No,
Not your thing.
no. I'm happy to help others, but I don't see it being a TV route or something. Yeah, I've got no plans for it. I'd have to lose a bit of weight. I haven't got that T-shirt with that shirt on. Okay,
No,
so
you're different. You're good. You're
so
good.
no real plans.
All right. So last November, you mentioned that you wanted to slow down.
Yes.
Has your why changed in any kind of way?
I want to know what the
Regarding
next
that.
slide is. Sorry. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
right. So that's my. I'm going to go slightly tangent here, as I do. So that's my granddaughter Navy. Pompey. I didn't know that was Pompey. Yeah. Sorry. And we were building a couple of flats, 2 or 3 flats at the back of Cosham. So we named it Navy Court. We weren't going to call it Dove Court, Bird. So we named that, and that's why I took her to show her that. Sorry. So that's my why change, or was my slowing down. Tangent, right? My daughter and Holmes and Hammer, one of the filmmakers said, so IVF must have cost a bit of money, Dad, you know, a granddad paying for it, yeah. And my daughter said it's about 15, 18 grand, you know, freezing eggs. I went, it's more like, actually, I think she said a bit more than that. I said, this house is £500,000. We bought the house for £500,000 and spent on it. That's the cost of my bloody granddaughter. We are slowing down. I'm hoping to have 2 extra, I haven't told my kids this, another 2 grandkids within the next year. So, you know, and we were taken to the Isle of Wight. That beach scene you saw with me digging up, that was on Whitecliff Bay. So we plan to, you know, relive our youth growing up and take our grandchildren.
Full circle moment.
Yeah.
Oh, really
So
nice.
slowing down, I am slowing down.
Yeah.
I trust the office immensely. I do drag myself away from it, and I come to events like this.
So retirement, slowing down. I know there are probably things that whether you or maybe some of your peers might struggle to come to terms with. You've lived a very productive life and have been able to change your family's situation for generations. So how are you coping with slowing down at the moment?
So slowing down is one thing, being active is another. So I've joined the gym. First time I've joined the gym this year, and I done a body jam session, which wasn't expected as what I planned it to be, but that was hard work. And I've done a line dancing at the gym, and I'm thinking, steps 5, 6, 7, 8. Bloody hell, it was knackering. And I'm there with like all women. I'm the only bloke in these 2 classes. That's when you go to the gym at daytime, by the way, Mal. And and actually that's the only time you sweat with women as well. Where are we going on this? Wait there. So I'm keeping active. I'm not slowing down. I am doing other things that is important to my health. I want to be around for the next 20 years to see my grandchildren grow. Sorry, is dessert coming?
It's on its way. Last few questions. Do you feel as if there's still more to do within your career?
Have you got many more? Because I'm going to go off a tangent about that one.
I've got one more after this.
Okay, right. I'm going to go for a couple of deals, really. He doesn't know this, I've run it myself. But the last one is Palmerston Road, but I will talk quickly. Although you heard me build a portfolio up, and actually, when they filmed Holmes and Hammer, they said, how many properties do you own? And I thought, I don't know if I can say that. So I just said 100. We're about 130, 135 at the moment. But if you say, we're about 137, sounds a bit, so we just said about 100. So we did round it down for Holmes and Hammer. Slowing down. Some of our previous deals, we bought number 3 Burrell Avenue for 70 grand. This was 24 years ago. We'd planned to spend 50 or 60 on it, but we did spend that, and we sold it for 321. We made 200 grand profit, and then we bought another 10 buy-to-lets, putting 20 grand down at the time. At the time, it equated to 8% buy-to-lets, you know. Kingfisher Court in out west, we touched about the bank at Lee Park. We made 800 grand. Only paid a little bit of tax because we incorporated at the time. That might come back to kick me, but who cares? But the money then went to Bluebird Court, so that was a deal. So I'm talking an old deal, one 5 years ago, one current one we're about to get PD on, Linnet School in Waterlooville, up for auction for 295. We bought it for 295. The same afternoon, a chap who goes to HBN phoned me up and offered me 400 for it. He's since offered 500. We're going to spend 20 grand to get planning on it for 10 or 12, and Fox and Sons are going to offer it for 665. So that's why we won't build. We'll take 300 grand out of it and not build it. We don't care. Again, cash in, cash out.
Less risk.
And then Palmerston Road's up for sale. But we're not interested unless if we have to pay HMRC. But if we don't, Palmerston Road between Lloyds Bank, still a tenant currently till they leave, all the way up to Debenhams up for sale, 5.8 mil. I've done my numbers. Someone sent to me as a joke, do you want to look, you interested in this? I went, yeah, definitely. I'm talking about slowing down, that's what I'm doing here, mate.
Yeah.
Rental income on that is about 660, it's about 11% net yield. You could borrow 3 mil down, you could borrow 3.8 mil, put 2 mil down. Lloyds will lend me that. Where can I find 2 mil from? Anyone got any money? We might have to use HMRC money, but you know, we'll still borrow it. And that's a good yield, and we would do some creative things at the back of the shops then. It's only the ground floor that's up for sale. It's ground floors, all tenanted, all reasonable covenants. Am I slowing down? Too right, am I? Is that a question?
Yeah. All right, so looking back, is there anything you would change or would do better if you had the chance to?
What breakdown makes you look at it and you learn from it. I'm cautious here, sorry. I shouldn't have worked so hard, and if I should have been there for my kids growing up. I would change it. But with my experience, I would look at it from different eyes, and I wouldn't work so hard. I'd probably grow at a slower pace sometimes, and to do different actions. So yes, I probably would. You know, I'm very lucky. Oh, she hasn't seen her though, my wife. That she stuck with me through thick and thin. So yeah, so I would change a thing. So I've made some real.
Was that workload directly attributable to the illness? Was that proven?
Not proven. But social services, adults with disabilities, my door was always open, there's a door open there, and I would help, I would be the first to arrive and the last one to leave. And everyone, not would take advantage of it, would see me as their guide and can you help me with this? And I took too much on. I didn't say no. Mostly social services was to do with that, just helping people, but also start building the portfolio at weekends and stuff, working too much, I think. I'm confident it was a serious contributor to it, yeah. Could you go back one?
Oh, go on, go for it.
This is in Bluebird Court. While I was in Tenerife in January, I do travel a fair bit now for holidays. The girls in the office, we had a plain walls reception of the Bluebird Court apartments, and they got that painted by a local painter, I can't remember his name now, 300 quid, pretty good in the things, it's quite big, but the guy put my initials on it. See that MRS, no one can see there, Mark Richard Smith. Didn't know that, did you? No. Little bits like that. The girls organised it for me, so when I come back from Tenerife, they come and see the warm wheel.
Yeah, I see it now.
Different, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry, mate. Next one. Sorry, it's Nagger doing it.
Yeah, no, it's doing it. Yeah. You sent me this. I just want you to have some last comments, last bits of advice that you could
let's finish
share
because
with the room.
we all want a dessert, don't we?
Yeah.
It's not the chocolate pudding. We're looking at.
I think I'm having that as well.
You can buy a calendar with 4,000 weeks on it. That's the average life expectancy, and you can put a calendar up on your wall. And to me, every day you got to live that life because you know we're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time, and it's down to you what you make it. Really, I love my life. I enjoy it virtually every day, and if I don't enjoy it, I'll learn from it and go, I'm not doing that again. So yeah, ultimately, I'm the person that goes, you can do this, push it and push yourself and do it. So learning, since leaving school, I think I want to excel, and I love booking flights. I love my job, my office staff all love their work, and I like helping new businesses. So yeah, if council boy like me can do it, most people can do it as well.
I think that's a great way to end things. Thank you very much. This was really good.
Well done.
Much appreciated.
Yeah,
appreciate your honesty.
You just need to be careful on the cut of the video.
Yes, of course. And you'll get the first draft anyway. Have a look, and then.
Right, is there any questions? Hello, mate. Not tax though. Not...